Hi, everybody. This is Preeti Pandey with a new podcast episode which will talk about bipolar disorder. This is New Delhi. Time is 10:39 a.m. Date is 5th of May and today is Thursday. So I was reading about the legal battle between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and it seemed to me like, oh my God, I was preparing uh, an episode on bipolar disorder, and this seems the symptoms, the accusations are very similar to bipolar disorder. So let me just quickly complete it and record my podcast episode. And if at the end of the episode you think you have some opinion, some question regarding this bipolar disorder thing, or if you think Johnny Depp or Amber Heard has some kind of mental illness, which is maybe it's hidden or it, either it is hidden or it is undiagnosed, because majority of population remains undiagnosed. So if there is a case, do write to me at Preeti, PRRITI @blinkofany.in, BLINKOFANEYE.in. So, today we are discussing about bipolar disorder, which is a mental illness, but today we are not talking about schizophrenia. People usually think these two are subsets of each other or they are very similar. I don't think so. They are very different. So, today we are only going to talk about bipolar disorder. And bipolar disorder is also known as maniac depression. It is a chronically recurring condition involving moods where you will have lots of mood swings, highs of mania to lows of depression. Okay, and depression is by far the most pervasive feature of this illness. What happens in the maniac phase? The maniac phase usually involves mix of irritability, anger, depression with or without euphoria. Now you see in bipolar disorder, this keyword is very, very important, which is euphoria. You sometimes you're very happy, you want to party, one party, another party, you are just having a good time. Okay, and there is unusual surge of energy which leads to this euphoria. There is overconfidence that yeah, I can handle everything. There is like bouts of overspending, there is bouts of promiscuity among other behavior, because you're very confident. Even if you steal something tonight, you'll be able to hide it. Even if you're lying like a chronic liar, you think I can handle this. Okay, so that confidence is way high. What happens? When is this diagnosed? I won't say diagnosed, but when do you get to see the early symptoms of bipolar disorder? So I would say that a bipolar disorder most often starts in young adulthood, uh, like teens, end of teens, but can also occur in children and adolescents. Biological factors probably create vulnerability to the disorder within certain individuals. And what happens? They experience something like sleep deprivation, and because due to less sleep, those manic episodes get kicked, because you are, as we say that, oh, I couldn't sleep last night, so I'm a bit irritated. So, how many bipolar disorders are there? There are two bipolar disorders. One is bipolar 1 and another is bipolar 2. So, there are many kinds of bipolar disorder, but these are the major ones, bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. And we will talk about this in today's episode. And as I've said many times, that one episode is not enough for one disease, so we will continue doing it. A major depressive episode may or may not accompany bipolar 1, but does accompany bipolar 2. So if you have a series of depressive episode, you're definitely a bipolar 2. And people with bipolar 1 have had at least one maniac episode, which may be very severe and requires hospital care. Okay, so now you know the difference. In bipolar 1, you have a major maniac episode. In bipolar 2, you have at least two major depressive episodes. Like for few weeks, you are not talking to anyone. That's bipolar 2. And in bipolar 1, you are maniac to the extent that it's you have to be hospitalized, you know. And yeah, that can lead to hitting someone or throwing things or being aggressive to any extent. So as I said, few weeks. So it's not few weeks. If it is at least 2 weeks also, the major depressive episode is if it is at least 2 weeks also, then you should be checked for bipolar 2. And what is hypomania? A mania that is mild to moderate is called hypomania. So even if you are like in a hypomanic condition and you say it's okay to be maniac sometimes, you can have bipolar 2. Now, what are the signs of a bipolar disorder? I think the first and the most important is it can be triggering episode followed by depressive episode, or it can manifest suddenly after years of depressive episode. The manic episode can manifest after years of depressive episode. And there's a rapid switch. The duration of depression increases. And in many cases, you know, when we have hypomania, which is mild or moderate, like we are screaming or we are shouting, or we are like, we say we have fits of anger and we are like, oh, I was just angry for good 5 minutes. Now I'm okay. I'm perfectly fine. Okay. So that's why the diagnosis of bipolar disorder becomes deceptive, because our acceptance increases. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to shout at times. I was only angry for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So there's a huge acceptance. So I would say the bigger the acceptance, the lower the chances of diagnosis, because you're okay with abuse also. So I've had a case where people are in an abusive relationship and they are not ready to leave their spouses. They're very happy. And because they have friends and family members who are in equally abusive relationship, they're okay with it. And they think they are helping their kids grow up in a nice environment because the kid has both parents and the both parents are equally contributing to the well-being of the child. I would definitely say I don't agree to this. And for me, this is like suicide. If you are in an abusive relationship, or if you are the abuser, and if you think that repetitive episodes of maniac or depressive episodes are okay, if you think only 5 times in a year we are in a bad state, so our kid is definitely having a good time with us, I don't think so. I don't agree to it. and you should definitely take your kid for a diagnosis, because the kid is going through PTSD, which is called post traumatic stress disorder. They might not come out and say that, hey, I was scared or I am not okay, but that doesn't mean they are not suffering. They're definitely suffering. Even if you don't see any definitive signs of their suffering, they are suffering. And that is why we talk a lot about mental health awareness, because we are in a state of denial all the time, all the time. We don't want to accept. So, okay. So, where was I? Okay. So, the duration of depression definitely increases. And we were talking about how hypomania can be deceptive. So there's increase in energy, you get irritated, you get angry, and then you shout at somebody, and then you're like, okay. Why? Because it also increases your productivity and creativity. Okay, so if you are an actor, if you are an artist, if you are a dancer, if you are a performer, if you are a top performer in your office, you would love that, because it increases your creativity, it increases your artistic abilities. Okay, you can make a presentation in 45 minutes, which usually takes 2.5 hours. So definitely it works, or maybe more. Maybe last time you took 4 hours to make a presentation, but this time it was done straight in 45 minutes. So what happens? As a result, a person experiencing may deny that anything is wrong, because who wants to lose their creativity? And if that creativity is paying you well, why will you deny that creativity ever? So there is a great variability in manic symptoms. What are those symptoms? Let's discuss about the manic symptoms. There is surge in energy, there is increased activity, there is restlessness. So I've come across people who say, oh, I don't need to rest, I'm okay, I'm doing fine. I sleep less. You have euphoric mood, so you want to go out, you want to party, you want to have fun. There is extreme optimism. Everybody can see that you're going to drown, but you are very, very optimistic. There is extreme irritability. That doesn't mean you are expressing your irritability. Maybe you are irritated within and you're suppressing it, but even that counts. You have racing thoughts. You have unusually fast speech. And I have come across many people who skip all those symptoms, but they can't skip this. They are actually unusually fast when talking. You have thoughts that jump from one idea to another. There is distractibility and there's lack of concentration. And as I said, decreased need for sleep. Why do I need to sleep? There is unrealistic belief in one's abilities and ideas that, oh, this is amazing, I should do it. And and then you fail. There is poor sense of judgment. So you think while you're driving that, oh, this is okay, I can park my car here, and this space is enough for parking my car, and you go and you just hit the pillar. Reckless behavior. In terms of spending, you spend a lot. And as I said, dangerous driving. You think I'll be able to control my car even if I overspeed it, but you are unable to do that. There is provocative behavior. You are provocating while having conversation because you want to pick up a fight. And there is increased and risk taking behavior when it comes to sexual drive. Oh, I can have a one night stand with this person and I'll still remain safe. I don't know who that person is, but I'll be safe. Of course, there is denial that anything or any wrong can happen to them. They'll be safe. How do you know this is happening to you? So there'll be at least 4 episodes per year, or the frequency may fluctuate, but at least 4 episodes will be there. So I know now you're thinking, if this has happened to me, or if this has happened to my partner, my kid, or anybody. Yes, now you have the answer. Depressive episodes. Let's talk about symptoms of depression. So there's lasting sadness, there is anxiety, there is empty mood. Lasting sadness doesn't have to be logical, it can be totally illogical. There is feeling of hopelessness, there is pessimism. Oh, I can't do this, I'm not good. No, 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 I can't move. No, I'm not okay. Feelings of guilt. Sometimes you are guilty because you have done something. Sometimes you are guilty just because you want to be guilty. There's nothing. Somebody died 1,000 miles away. You don't know that person. You have just read the news. Like for example, currently, many people might get depressed because of Amber Heard. Oh my God, I'm so sad for her. There's no reason. You can be sad, you can empathize, but you cannot go under depression. So, feelings of worthlessness, feelings of helplessness. Even if I want, I can't go and help Amber Heard, okay? Loss of interest in activity which once I enjoyed, decreased energy, feeling of fatigue, and slow down. So even if I have not done anything, I'm still feeling fatigue. And there's difficulty remembering things, there is difficulty in making decisions. Uh, Either I'm oversleeping or I'm unable to sleep. There's change in appetite. There's unintended weight loss or gain. And like I said, like fatigue, there is chronic pain also, persistent chronic pain without any symptoms, illness, or injury. And extreme is thoughts of death or suicide or suicidal attempts. That's extreme. It might or might not happen. So, what does the data say? Worldwide, the disorder which has been diagnosed, we are only talking about diagnosed cases, which is very less. Worldwide, the disorder affects about 45 million people according to World Health Organization. It develops in late teens and early 20s, although symptoms can appear in uh, children as young as 6 years old. So, parents, kindly monitor your kid. As per DSM 5, the average age of first episode of mania or hypomania or depression is 18 years old for bipolar 1 and mid 20s for bipolar 2. So, bipolar 1 can be diagnosed as early as 18 years, bipolar 2 mid 20s. Symptoms in children and adolescents are same, and they include the conditions called hallmark mood swings. So if your kid is having extreme mood swings, please go to a psychology counselor. And if need be, if it is extreme, they will definitely refer you to clinical psychiatrist. But if you yourself think that they are experiencing extreme mood swings, take them directly to a clinical psychiatrist. What are the causes of bipolar disorder? Is it genetic? Is it environmental? So I would like to say that it is both genetic and environmental. And if the factors, if you're like already vulnerable to it, it can create bipolar disorder. And how do we judge your vulnerability? If you do not have any genetic history. So there is some evidence that advanced paternal age at conception can increase the possibility of new genetic mutations that underline vulnerability. So this is also a reason. If you're old, you have conceived, that makes the kid vulnerable for bipolar disorder. Imaging studies have suggested that there may be differences in the structure and function of certain brain areas, but we haven't found any consistency in this. Life events like childhood trauma are brought to play a role in spurring bipolar disorder in those who are already vulnerable. Incidents of interpersonal difficulty, abuse, most commonly associated with triggering disorder. So, if you are in an abusive relationship, the bipolar disorder gets triggered. People with traumatic brain injuries called TBI due to a car accident or a sports injury are 4 times highly likely to get mental illness, 28% more likely to get bipolar, and 65% more likely to get schizophrenia. So, we will have a different session on schizophrenia. And what helps? So, even nutritional psychology is very, very important because food and lifestyle habits, everything helps. So, lithium is a very important, I would say, ingredient, and it is the best mood stabilizer. There are many new drugs which your clinical psychiatrist will ask you to have, um, which has less side effects. So I don't want to name those drugs because I know people usually think, okay, let me self-diagnose. So I don't want to name those drugs, but there are new drugs which has very less side effects. And like I said, lithium, omega-3 fatty acids will help you. CBT, which is called cognitive behavioral therapy, is definitely going to help you. But do you think bipolar disorder is like any other illness? Like once you can have medicine or therapy and you're good to go? I don't think so. Mm. So, this mania is always good, is a biggest myth. It cannot be good. You know what happens? People think that, oh, this person is depressed and it's been 5 weeks. My brother is not talking to me just because my brother is not feeling good. So, what should I do? If he's shouting at me, if he's yelling at me, if he is having a manic episode, it is better than having a depressive episode. So, that's a biggest myth. So, I would say no, it's not. I know you love him, but it's not. Second is people think treatment ends when the person is stable. Even if you're stable, even if you're not having suicidal thoughts, even if you're not having maniac episode or depressive episode, this is a lifelong, I would say, lifelong recurring disorder, and you should definitely not skip any therapy or medicines. Of course, the dose can be reduced, but only your clinical psychiatrist should decide about the dose, not us. Uh, have you seen or have you met somebody who is very, very religious and is having religious delusions? Why I'm asking this is many individuals with bipolar disorder experience hyper religiosity during maniac phase. 15 to 22% of Americans experience religious delusions, such as thinking that demons are watching them or that they are Christ born. Can you believe this? So, if you are very, very spiritual during your manic episodes, check yourself. Dopamine levels play a major role in elevating this religiosity, just for your information. And famous figures are often cited to illustrate connection between genius and mental illness. So everybody wants to be a celebrity. Everybody wants to perform straight 8 hours on stage without getting tired. You know, it gives you a high. Just because you're a bipolar, you're able to perform more without getting tired. You're loving it. But that doesn't help. You still need a treatment. And few people who have been diagnosed are Winston Churchill, Vincent van Gogh, the Dutch painter, Kanye West, the American rapper, who is compared to Kangna Ranaut of India. They have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I am not sure one or two. I don't know. So this was my episode on bipolar disorder. And when it comes to Johnny Depp or Amber Heard, I would only say that any kind of abuse, if all the allegations which Amber Heard is putting uh, is true, and she's claiming that yes, he has abused me. If the so I have read the details of the allegations. So if the abuse is as she is saying, I'm very sure this is a case of bipolar disorder, because this is not normal. So if you have come across anybody who does like this, you better get them checked and stay safe. So do write to me about this podcast episode and let me know if you would like me to do another episode on bipolar disorder, or if you want me to skip this uh, and make another podcast episode with some different and interesting topic, then I'll do that. Thank you so much for listening to me. Take care.